Hey everyone, welcome back. It seems like AI and the stock market, that's all anyone's talking about these days.
Yeah, it's really taken over the conversation.
Some are saying it's going to be like the next big thing, the next internet. Others are predicting a total meltdown.
Right. The whole thing kind of feels like this massive societal anxiety about AI. It's not just the stock market, it's jobs, the economy, like the whole future of humanity.
Yeah, for sure. So we wanted to do a deep dive into all of that.
Yeah.
And we've got a whole stack of insights here from financial experts to YouTubers.
Sounds like fun.
It is. It's interesting. We've got a real mix of opinions here.
Yeah.
Some are excited about AI's potential.
Yeah.
Others are, really sounding the alarm bells.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
Okay, so let's unpack this and let's actually start with a real-world example of how AI can spook the market.
Yeah.
Remember that fake image of an explosion at the Pentagon?
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about the one that Ricky Gutierrez highlighted in his YouTube video?
Yes, exactly.
That was crazy.
I know that image. It spread like wildfire on social media. And for a few minutes there, people really thought it was real.
It was pretty convincing.
It was. And here's the crazy part. The S&P 500, it actually dropped 30 points because of that image.
Wow.
Which wiped out almost $500 billion in market value in just minutes.
It's like a mini flash crash, all triggered by a fake image.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So explain this to me, because we talk a lot about algorithmic trading on this show. These computer programs that buy and sell stocks based on, preset rules, they often react to news and market data in milliseconds.
Right. So what happened with the Pentagon image was that the algorithms they picked up on the sudden surge in social media activity
Right.
interpreted that as negative news and then started selling off stocks.
So it wasn't even human investors panicking.
No.
It was the algorithms reacting to the misinformation.
Precisely. And
Yeah.
that's what makes the incident so significant. It shows how vulnerable the market is to AI-driven misinformation, especially as these algorithms become more sophisticated and more widespread.
That's kind of unsettling. I mean, it was just an image this time. But what happens when AI-generated fake news becomes even more convincing?
Right. That's a question a lot of people are asking, and it really highlights the need for some kind of safeguards against AI-driven manipulation in the market. But the impact of AI goes way beyond just misinformation.
Yeah.
There's this whole debate about whether AI will eventually just outperform human money managers.
Yeah, I was listening to that Bloomberg podcast, AI versus money managers, the other day.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
And they had two experts arguing back and forth about it. And I was actually surprised to hear that AI hasn't consistently beaten humans at the investing game.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised by that,
Right. You would think that a computer program with access to vast amounts of data, lightning fast processing speed,
Yeah.
you would think that would be a guaranteed winner in the stock market.
Right, like it should be a slam dunk.
Right. But it turns out it's not that simple. So what's the missing ingredient? Why are humans still holding their own against these superpowered algorithms?
Well, one of the experts on that podcast, his name was Aaron Brown, he was arguing that AI isn't really close to surpassing humans in investing because it lacks the ability to adapt to new information, explain its decisions, and even just provide emotional support to clients. Although he did say that tools like ChatGPT are starting to change the landscape.
Right. It's like there are these aspects of investing that still require a human touch. Things like intuition, experience, the ability to interpret complex,
Right.
Real-world events.
Exactly. And then there's this whole issue of transparency.
Uh-huh.
You've probably heard of these incredibly successful AI investing models used by firms like Renaissance Technologies.
I've heard of them, but I don't really understand them.
Yeah, most people don't. And that's kind of the point. And the thing is, these models, they're basically black boxes,
Yeah.
No one really knows how they work, even the people who created them.
So it's like magic, but with algorithms.
Kind of. And the podcast raised this interesting question. What happens if AI democratizes these strategies? What if everyone starts using the same opaque algorithms, that actually diminish returns for everyone?
It's like if everyone had the same secret weapon, it wouldn't be a secret anymore.
Right, exactly. And that actually brings us to another perspective, one that emphasizes the importance of human judgment in a world that's increasingly dominated by AI.
Okay.
Peter Tuchman, the Einstein of Wall Street. He was recently interviewed on the Iced Coffee Hour, and he offered some fascinating insights based on his decades of experience as a floor broker.
Oh, I've heard of him. He's been on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange forever.
Yeah, over 37 years, he's witnessed every crash since 1987.
Oh, wow.
And he calls himself a forensic broker.
The forensic broker.
Meaning he tries to understand the why behind market movements, the psychology that's driving investor behavior.
Interesting.
And he sees these parallels between the current AI boom and the dot-com bubble of the late 90s.
So he's basically saying, don't get caught up in the hype, folks. I've seen this movie before.
He's certainly urging caution, and while he acknowledges the influence of AI, he's skeptical that it will ever fully replace human traders. He believes that the market's nuances and the emotional factors are just too complex for algorithms to fully grasp.
That's interesting because he seems to be acknowledging both the power of AI and the enduring importance of human judgment.
Yeah, it's like a balancing act
It is.
between the two. And I think that's a key takeaway for anyone trying to make sense of AI's role in the market. It's not an either-or proposition.
Right.
It's about understanding how these forces interact and potentially complement each other.
Okay, so we've got this clash between the potential of AI and the enduring power of human intuition. But what does all this mean for the average investor, someone like you or me who's just trying to navigate this increasingly complex landscape?
Right, well, let's explore that further. We've got some really interesting insights from Sasha Yanchin's video, The AI Bubble Bursts. Stock market is crashing, and in it, he actually questions the long-term value of AI in the stock market.
Really?
Yeah, he's making this really interesting comparison. He's arguing that just like coding editors, even the most advanced AI tools are likely to become commodities over time.
So it's not enough to just jump on the AI bandwagon. You have to think about which companies are going to be the long-term winners in this AI race.
Exactly. And speaking of long-term winners and losers, we should talk about Mark Tilbury's perspective from his video, This Stock Market Crash of 2025, What You Must Know.
Yeah.
He dives into this whole idea of the AI hype cycle and how it could lead to some serious market volatility.
Didn't he say that he thinks we're in an AI bubble right now? Like that the value of these AI companies has been inflated way beyond what's realistic?
That's his view, and he backs it up with some pretty compelling evidence. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, for example, has significantly reduced its stake in Apple. And there have been some high-profile setbacks in the AI industry. Apple's own AI product launch was pretty underwhelming, and NVIDIA's been dealing with chip delays. All of this suggests that maybe the AI revolution isn't quite as imminent as some people think.
I see what you mean. It's easy to get swept up in the hype, especially with all the headlines about AI doing these amazing things. But maybe we need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture.
Tilbury actually compares the current situation to the dot-com bubble of the late 90s. Remember what happened? Then investors poured money into internet companies based on promises of future growth. But many of those companies didn't have solid business models. And when the bubble burst, a lot of people lost a lot of money.
So he's basically saying that we could see a similar crash with AI stocks. The companies that rise the fastest are often the ones that fall the hardest.
He doesn't predict a specific date for the crash, but he does believe a correction is inevitable. And he uses a really interesting analogy to explain what he thinks is happening in the market right now, the Japanese yen carry trade. Think of it this way. Investors are borrowing money at low interest rates and then using that money to invest in risky assets like AI stocks, hoping for a quick profit. But what happens when those interest rates start to rise or when investors lose confidence in the AI market? Things could unravel pretty quickly.
Okay, so Tilbury's sounding a pretty serious warning. But I'm curious to hear what someone like Arun Sharma has to say because he seems to be way more optimistic about AI's potential.
That's right. His video, What Most People Don't Know About How AI Will Change the Future of Stock Market Trading, Part 1, it presents a much more positive view of AI's impact on the stock market. And his insights are particularly interesting because he focuses on the global implications of AI.
So it's not just about how AI will affect Wall Street. It's about how it's going to change the entire landscape of global finance.
Exactly. Sharma believes that AI has the potential to revolutionize trading worldwide, bringing benefits like reduced research time, improved accuracy, emotional detachment from trading decisions. He sees AI as a tool that can empower both individual and institutional investors, creating new opportunities across the board.
That's an interesting point. It seems like it's usually the little guy who gets left behind when there's a big technological shift like this. But Sharma is suggesting that AI could actually level the playing field.
That's his argument. He believes that AI can be used to create and backtest trading strategies, automate portfolio management, and even provide guidance on overall market performance, making these sophisticated tools available to a much wider range of investors.
So he's painting a pretty optimistic picture of a future where AI makes investing more accessible and potentially more profitable for everyone. But we can't ignore the potential downsides of this technology, can we?
Of course not. And I think Ahmed Mustaq's interview on Tom Bilyeu's channel, The 3-Year AI Reset, How to Get Ahead While Others Lose Their Jobs, Prepare Now, really drives that point home. He paints a pretty bleak picture of what could happen if we don't handle AI responsibly.
Yeah, that interview was definitely thought-provoking. He talked about widespread job displacement, societal upheaval, the potential for AI to be used for manipulation and control. It was a little unsettling, to be honest.
His concerns are definitely worth considering. He used this really striking analogy to explain why he thinks we need to take these risks seriously. He compared the current situation to the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, when people were largely unaware of the danger until Tom Hanks got diagnosed and the NBA shut down.
Right, he called it the Tom Hanks and the NBA analogy. His point was that we tend to ignore warnings until a major event forces us to pay attention, and he thinks we could be sleepwalking into a similar scenario with AI.
Exactly. Mostok is worried that we're not taking the potential negative consequences of AI seriously enough. He sees the potential for AI to exacerbate existing societal problems like inequality, political polarization, the spread of misinformation.
So it's not just about AI taking over our jobs. It's about AI potentially amplifying some of the worst aspects of human nature.
And making those problems even harder to solve. That's why Mostok is such a big advocate for open source AI development. He believes that democratizing access to AI is the best way to mitigate the risks of centralized control.
So instead of having a few powerful corporations or governments controlling AI, we need to make sure it's accessible to everyone. It's like he's saying the best way to fight fire is with fire.
That's a good way to put it. But even with open source development, there's still the question of how we ensure that AI is used ethically and responsibly. And that brings us to another layer of complexity, this idea of AI designing itself.
Wait a minute, AI designing itself? That sounds like something straight out of a science fiction movie.
It might sound far-fetched, but it's a real concern in the AI community. I mean, we're already using AI to develop new AI systems. So what happens when those systems become more intelligent than their creators?
Okay, now that is a scary thought. It's like giving the keys to the kingdom to a machine that might not even share our values.
And that's precisely what worries. Ahmed Mostok, remember his black swan scenario, the idea that AI could become so complex and interconnected that we just lose control over it.
Right.
He believes that as AI systems become more intelligent and autonomous, they could start interacting with each other in ways that we can't even predict, potentially leading to some really unintended consequences.
So it's not just about one rogue AI taking over the world like in the movies. It's more about this whole network of AI systems evolving and operating beyond our comprehension.
Exactly. He even talked about the possibility of AI developing its own language, one that we humans might not even be able to understand. It's like imagining a whole new species emerging right alongside us, but with its own motivations and goals.
That's both fascinating and a little terrifying. It's like we're on the verge of this major paradigm shift, and we don't even know what the rules of the game are going to be.
And that's why there's this growing field of research focused on AI safety and ethics. Researchers are really grappling with this question of how do we control something that's potentially smarter than we are?
Is that even possible? I mean, it's like trying to put a genie back in the bottle.
Some researchers believe that we need to build safeguards into AI systems from the very beginning, like ethical guidelines or limitations on their capabilities. Think of it like Asimov's laws of robotics. Those rules designed to prevent robots from harming humans. But others argue that those kinds of safeguards might not be enough.
So what are the alternatives? Do we just cross our fingers and hope for the best?
Well, there are some pretty radical ideas out there. Some experts believe that we need to fundamentally rethink our approach to AI development instead of trying to control AI. Maybe we need to learn to coexist with it. Like we're entering this new era, one where collaboration with AI is not just a choice, but a necessity.
Wow, that's a huge shift in thinking. We've always seen AI as a tool.
Yeah.
Something we control. But you're saying it might be more like a partner, an entity we need to learn to work with.
It's a mind-blowing concept, but it really underscores the magnitude of this transformation. AI is not just about technology, it's about redefining our relationship with intelligence itself.
So where do we go from here? What can we as individuals do to prepare for this future where AI plays such a prominent role?
I think the most important thing is education. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this uncharted territory. Read up on AI, listen to podcasts, stay informed about the latest developments. Don't be afraid to ask questions and challenge assumptions.
So knowledge is power, as they say. What else can we do?
Engage in the conversation. Talk to your friends, family, colleagues about the potential impact of AI. This isn't just a tech issue, it's a societal issue that's going to affect all of us. And finally, don't be passive observers. Demand transparency from the companies and governments that are developing this technology. Hold them accountable for creating AI that benefits humanity, not just their bottom line.
That's a powerful call to action, it sounds like.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Absolutely. The future is not predetermined. It's up to us to decide what role we want AI to play in our lives and in the world. And that starts with being informed, engaged, and empowered.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on. AI is here to stay, but its future is still being written, and it's up to all of us to make sure the future is one we can all be proud of. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration into the world of knowledge.